Imagine a country with some of the strictest laws against corporate crime in the world. A country where embezzlement, bribery, and market manipulation can land you years in prison. Now imagine that if you're powerful enough, rich enough, and connected enough, those laws simply don't apply to you. Welcome to the paradox of South Korea, and the incredible story of its untouchable billionaire Chaebol heirs. So, what exactly are these Chaebols? The word Chaebol refers to South Korea's massive, family-controlled industrial conglomerates. Think Samsung, Hyundai, LG, SK Group. These aren't just companies, they are empires that dominate nearly every aspect of Korean life, from the phones in your pocket to the cars on the road, the apartments you live in, and even the food you eat. They were instrumental in rebuilding South Korea after the war, transforming it into an economic powerhouse. For decades, this model worked. The Chaebols drove innovation, created jobs, and brought prosperity. But with immense power comes immense responsibility, and often, corruption. The problem isn't just that these powerful figures break the law, it's what happens after they break it. Time and time again, despite convictions, they walk free. Let's take the most famous example, Lee Jae-yong, the de facto head of Samsung, South Korea's biggest Chaebol. He's been embroiled in multiple scandals. In 2017, he was jailed for bribery and embezzlement related to the massive scandal that brought down former President Park Geun-hye. A 5-year sentence. But within a year, an appellate court suspended the sentence, and in 2021, he was briefly jailed again. The critical point is what happened next. In 2022, he received a full presidential pardon, wiping his record clean. The official reason? Economic necessity. This is not an isolated incident, it is a pattern. Consider Chae Tae-won, the chairman of SK Group. In 2003, he was convicted of accounting fraud, but he was pardoned by the president in 2008. Then, in 2013, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison for embezzling company funds. He served less than 2 years before, you guessed it, receiving another presidential pardon in 2015. This repeated cycle raises a crucial question: what is the mechanism that allows these powerful individuals to be considered too big to jail? The core reason for these pardons always boils down to one phrase, a nearly mythical concept in South Korea: economic vitality. This is not just a weak excuse, it is a deep-seated belief system forged in the crucible of South Korea's post-war history. When a Chaebol leader is facing jail time for crimes like embezzlement or stock manipulation, corporate and political lobbyists flood the public sphere with a terrifying argument: the CEO's absence from the helm of a massive, globally interdependent company will literally jeopardize the entire national economy. Think about it, these companies aren't just one business. They are vertically integrated empires. A major investment decision delayed by the imprisonment of the Samsung heir, for example, could, in theory, impact the global supply of memory chips, hurt exports, and cost thousands of ordinary Koreans their jobs across dozens of affiliate companies. In their view, justice for one executive must be weighed against the potential suffering of millions of citizens. The argument is that the short-term benefit of upholding the law is outweighed by the existential risk to South Korea's financial stability. The Chaebol leader, though a criminal, is treated as a critical national asset, a sacrificial lamb prevented from being sacrificed, for the perceived good of the state. This is a system where economic growth isn't just a policy goal, it's a matter of national security, and the Chaebol are its guardians. This is why groups like the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry often formally request pardons, framing them as a necessary step for overcoming economic crises. This deep-seated dependence creates a profound public ambivalence, a complicated mix of love and hate. On one hand, the outrage is genuine and explosive. The sight of a billionaire heir walking free after committing crimes that would send an ordinary citizen to jail for years fuels a deep sense of social injustice. This is compounded by the Chaebol's negative impact on the daily lives of non-elite Koreans, namely through stifling small businesses and exacerbating economic inequality, which makes it nearly impossible for young people to afford housing or start a non-Chaebol-related career. But the hate is tempered by a lingering cultural sense of gratitude and national pride. For generations, these companies have been the very symbols of South Korea's improbable success story, the miracle on the Han River. Many older Koreans remember a time of genuine poverty, and they see the gleaming towers of Seoul and the global recognition of Samsung and Hyundai as tangible proof of national achievement. They believe that even a corrupt Chaebol is better than a weakened one. This love-hate relationship is reflected in polls, which often show a majority of the public expressing strong support for a Chaebol leader's pardon, even while simultaneously holding a very unfavorable view of the Chaebol system itself. They are willing to prioritize the stability of the company, and by extension their own economic safety, over judicial principle. It's a pragmatic, albeit cynical, choice rooted in a deep historical fear of economic collapse. This entire phenomenon is perpetuated and codified by a dangerous, self-serving loop of political corruption. This is often referred to as the Korea Incorporated dynamic, where the lines between state and business are blurred. Chaebol money doesn't just fund political campaigns, it creates deep, personal connections and dependencies between the business elite and the political establishment. When a company leader is in trouble, they simply call in decades of political debt. We've seen Chaebol executives indicted for bribing sitting presidents, most famously in the scandal that led to the impeachment and removal of former President Park Geun-hye. The cycle is remarkably simple: the courts find the executive guilty, upholding the rule of law. But then, the executive branch, the president, steps in with the constitutional power of the pardon. The president issues the clemency, citing the need for national harmony or economic revitalization. The Chaebol leader returns to the CEO office, and the government can then point to a stable economy as justification for its courageous decision. It's a transaction: the Chaebol avoids punishment, and the president receives political capital and often, a hefty, if subtly concealed, return on the investment in the form of future political support. It's a system designed to protect itself. The most profound and lasting cost of these repeated pardons is the damage inflicted upon the very foundations of South Korean democracy and the principle of the rule of law. The pardons send an explicit and dangerous message to the entire society: class and wealth grant immunity. They effectively neuter the years of complex, expensive, and difficult work done by prosecutors and the courts. Why bother pursuing strict anti-corruption measures if the person at the top will simply be let off the hook by the executive branch? This creates a palpable two-tiered system of justice, one for the incredibly wealthy and powerful, who have a presidential, get-out-of-jail-free card, and one for everyone else, who face the full force of the law for far lesser crimes. This systematic erosion of equality before the law breeds civic cynicism, contributes to the deep social despair felt by many young Koreans, and fundamentally undermines the public's faith in its own democratic institutions. Every pardon of a Chaebol chairman is a small, quiet failure of democracy. Despite the power of the Chaebols, the fight for reform is very much alive. Civic groups, often referred to as NGOs, and opposition political factions constantly push to curb the president's near-absolute pardon power. There is a continuous legislative battle to increase corporate transparency, ban the complex circular shareholding structures that allow families to control huge empires with minimal ownership, and strengthen independent oversight bodies. But change is agonizingly slow. These movements are met with fierce resistance from conservative political forces and powerful lobbying groups, who continually reassert the cultural priority of economic growth above all else. The fight for true corporate accountability is a direct, ongoing battle for the soul of South Korean democracy, a battle to prove that the rule of law is stronger than the rule of wealth. The story of the untouchable Chaebol heirs is, ultimately, a story of national compromise, a trade-off between economic prosperity and judicial integrity that South Korea has yet to fully resolve. Is this system sustainable? Can a modern, global democracy truly thrive when its most powerful citizens are exempt from its own laws? We want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe a country's economic stability should ever take precedence over the principle of the rule of law? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more analysis, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.